Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special Friday edition of the Main Street Finance Podcast. I am, of course, Alex, your host, and today I'll be reviewing one of my new favorite personal finance books and be telling you how to enter for a chance to win a free copy, so stick around.
You're listening to the Main Street Finance Podcast, where we take the Wall Street bull by the horns to help you achieve your financial goals. Whether it's budgeting, investing, or financial independence, we tackle the big questions in the pursuit of financial literacy. And now, your host.
Alrighty, and today the book we're going to be talking about is Retire Before Mom and Dad: The Simple Numbers Behind a Lifetime of Financial Freedom by Rob Berger. This book is, of course, a personal finance book, and it's one that I tend to gravitate to. It's a lot like my own podcast, where you got to cover the basics, budgeting, saving, and then you can get to investing. Because once you get to investing, that's how you're going to get to be able to prepare for retirement. Because once you get to investing, that's when you get to the fun stuff, when you're compounding your wealth, letting it grow so that you're able to retire. What this book does is it takes you from the bare basics. It talks to you about budgeting, what's a stock, what's a bond, all that good stuff, and it builds up your knowledge. What I love about this book is it assumes that you don't have any prior knowledge of finance before you go into it. A question you should always ask whenever you read a book that's designed to teach you something is, what are the qualifications of the guy that's teaching you this lesson? The author of the book, as I mentioned before, is Rob Berger. He graduated from law school in 1992. He's written about personal finance since 2007. He created and grew the Dough Roller Money Podcast, which is currently still coming out and is at episode 331, which currently has a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts from 600 different reviews. And a couple years back, he was assigned as a deputy editor at Forbes magazine in the Money Advisor area. I really respect Rob. He's a very well-educated guy. He's been a very big impact on the financial independence community. I'm not going to go too far into financial independence at the moment. Financial independence is a topic I'm going to cover in great detail throughout the entire existence of this podcast. But for the moment, let's keep it at financial independence is having enough income coming from your assets that you own, to where if you want to, you no longer have to work a job. You no longer have to do a 9-to-5, whatever. The financial independence and FIRE movement. It's financial independence, retire early. Now, what a lot of people get wrong about that is people focus on the retire early part of it, but that's not really what it's about. Maybe for some, but really what the financial independence movement is do you ever have to work that soul-crushing job that you just hate, that you wake up every morning going, what has happened in my life to make me deserve this? Well, if you're financially independent, you don't have to work a job you hate for the money. You can take whatever job you want, even if you're doing it for free, even if it's just charity work. And since you're financially independent, the money doesn't matter. You're doing a job because it's what you enjoy. Or instead of working your job, maybe you're starting your own business. Maybe you're spending more time with the kids or the grandkids. Financial independence is just a way that you can take more control of your life and have more time in your life without having to worry about working for money. But that's just kind of an overview. So there's a lot of themes throughout this book towards financial independence, and that's what it brings you to. I mean, the subtext of the book is the simple numbers behind a lifetime of financial freedom. So whatever your motivations, you're still going to be able to get a lot out of this book. In Rob's book, he covers basically all of the basics. He talks about budgeting, he talks about investing. A lot of his stuff is geared towards financial independence, but if you're investing to where you no longer have to work again, that strategy is going to work for basically whatever it is your final investing goals are going to be, whether they be retirement related or just having that big pot of money in 10, 20, 40 years. So he covers investing, compound interest, budgeting. It's a fantastic book that takes you from the bottom and builds up your skills. Some of the strengths and weaknesses of the book, it's a very easy read. He teaches all the terms and he never lets the information get too complicated. So, much like my podcast, if you have very little financial literacy and that's something you're looking for, this book is going to help a lot with that. In it, he takes things from the bare basics. He teaches you all the terms. He talks about, he doesn't assume you know anything. He assumes that he's giving you this financial knowledge, and that's just what you need to make this work. That's definitely a strong pro for this book, is that you don't really need to have any prior knowledge before you go into it. One of the most unique things that this book has that I really appreciate it for, that I'm going to chalk up to the strengths here, is that there's a lot of additional bonus content available. There is a website that he made for this book, there's a Facebook page, and of course, a 331 episode podcast, which is still coming out. It's not done. And the website that he made for this book, what he did was not only did he write and publish a personal finance book, but he made a website to go along with the book. And what that website has is a bunch of videos to prove the points, to show you the numbers, to show you that compound interest growth. If that doesn't sound familiar, it sounds a lot like something right out of my playbook, because we share the same vision in that you can write about it or talk about it till you're blue in the face, but until someone really sits down, looks at the numbers, and sees the possibilities, they're really not going to get it. So much like how my podcast has YouTube videos, his book has a whole website full of videos to further prove his points. Now, I am going to hit it with a couple weaknesses, but I wouldn't really call them weaknesses so much as me being nitpicky, and that is that this book is not going to be a one-size-fits-all approach to your personal finances. This is more of an introductory book to get you in the door and get you investing, but it's not all-inclusive. It's not the encyclopedia of finance. It's not the encyclopedia of personal finance. This is what I would think would be the bare minimum of what you would need to skate by on your finances. But really, this book should definitely be one of the first ones you reach for when you're going for personal finance and trying to go down this rabbit hole of understanding this stuff. But it is in no way, shape, or form the one-and-done solution. And going along with that, it's not very technical. And that's done on purpose. It's not very technical because he's trying to keep it at a simple level for everyone to understand, to really build that foundation for you so that he can build off of that. So let's talk about why should you read it. Well, honestly, if you're still listening to this podcast, if you haven't given up on me yet, this book is probably for you. It talks about a lot of the same things I do because it's talking about the basics. We're both trying to accomplish the same goals here. We're trying to build your financial knowledge so you can handle your own finances and put that in the back seat, because once you have your finances taken care of, your life really opens up and you have a lot more time for other things. If you don't believe me, sit down and think. How much extra stuff could you do, or how much less stress would you have if you didn't have to worry about your finances? Another reason that you should get this book, and I'm going to beat this reason to death, is that it is basic. It is something that you can pick up, have zero knowledge of the subject, and be able to really build a good foundation of personal finance just from one book. I gotta say, my favorite quote, which he says as his sign-off at the end of every episode of the podcast, but he also says it in the book, is that the best thing that money can buy is freedom. And I think there's a lot of power behind those words. But it is a fantastic book. I would definitely recommend it. I'll be honest with y'all, I rented a copy of the book from my local library, so I do not have it on my bookshelf. But even though I've already read it, this is definitely going to be one that I am going to purchase and put on my bookshelf. It's just that worth it. So if I was to give it a rating, I would definitely give it a solid 8 out of 10. The only reason it's not a 10 out of 10, and this is arguably unfair for them, is that this isn't a one-size-fits-all book. This isn't the finance book. It's not the finance book that one and done. You read this one book and you are good to go. Now, in a lot of respects, you can be good to go just by reading this book, but it's not an easy task for a single book to be able to handle every single thing you could possibly want out of finance. So this is definitely the perfect book to start off with if you're trying to get your finances under control, or if you're trying to improve your finances. Overall, definitely an 8 out of 10. Alrighty, now let's get into the fun stuff. Let's go ahead and let's talk about how you can get a copy of this book for free. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a standard just lottery, kind of pull a name out of a hat drawing, and the winner is going to get a book shipped to them. So here's how we're going to do it. There are 3 ways to get entries into the contest. The first, if you go and follow me at Main Street Money on Twitter, everyone who follows will get their name entered once into the hat. The next way you can get an entry is you can go to the YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you get 3 entries to have your name thrown in the hat to get a free book. And the third way you can get in is to leave a written review on iTunes, Spotify, whatever platform you're listening on. If you go and leave a written review, just be honest. I'm not begging for 5 stars, but if you're getting something useful out of the show, more reviews helps Apple know that I'm giving some good content and I'm not just sitting here talking to myself. To be fair, I am talking to myself, but occasionally someone listens. And so that's how you get in. Alrighty, guys, and I'm going to need your help to ensure that you get the right amount of entries that you deserve. So, Once you have completed one or all the ways that you want to enter in the contest, go ahead and send me an email at mainstreetfinance@gmail.com. And in that email, just tell me, hey, I left a review that said this, I subscribed on YouTube, my username is this, and or I followed you on Twitter and my username is this. And whoever wins the drawing, I'm going to go ahead and just reply to your email so we can arrange the delivery. And also, if you'd like, I can announce your name, either first or first and last, and just whatever city or state you come from. It's going to be whatever you want. Just please, nothing silly. And that's it. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of this. This coming Tuesday is going to be one of my favorite episodes. We're going to start our first episode into talking about stocks. We're going to be covering what they are and all kinds of good stuff on how they'll make you money. So thank you so much for listening, and y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you for listening to the Main Street Finance Podcast. Have a question on today's topics or have suggestions for future episodes? Send an email to mainstfinance@gmail.com. Sharing is caring, so if you learned something new and useful today, make sure you share with friends and family. Don't forget to like and subscribe to be notified of new episodes. For demonstrations and more examples, be sure to check out the YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.